What's going on, everybody, and welcome to CS5 Unmasked. Today I'm going to be making the Jason costume from the 2009 Friday the 13th movie, and I'm going to be doing this for around $25. Now, I am fully aware that $25 really isn't a whole lot of money to try to make a movie accurate costume with, but I'm going to try my very best. Needless to say, I'm a big fan of thrift stores and even yard sales, because if we're going to do this for under $25, I really got to be hunting for the bargains. So, sit back and relax, and welcome to CS5's Cost Cut Costume Tutorials. Alright, let's go ahead and see what we're going to need for this costume. First, we're going to need a hood and a mask, 2 separate jackets, a white t-shirt, a machete holster, a pair of brown pants, and brown boots. Now, footwear will be optional, just wear whatever you feel that is comfortable. Alright, let's go ahead and start with the jacket. Now, this is just a green jacket that I picked up at a yard sale for a couple of dollars, and though it's not the exact one from the movie, it's going to work out for this application. When I was looking for a jacket, I wanted to make sure that it at least had pockets on the sides, and at least a drawstring on the inner part before I can pull it tight around the back. So this particular jacket fits the bill. Now we're going to go ahead and put some damage on the jacket. I'm going to start by using a pair of scissors and making several cuts along the part of the jacket where the zipper goes. I'm actually going to cause quite a bit of damage on both sides, with some cuts a little bit bigger than the others. Then I'm going to grab a wire brush and proceed to fray the edges. Now, if you don't have a wire brush yourself, a fork, some sandpaper, or even a rock will work out just fine. You just need to use something that's going to cause the edges to fray out. Okay, doing a quick fit of the jacket, I do realize that it actually is quite a bit longer than I anticipated. So I am going to shorten this up a few inches, just so that it has the right look. Now, word of advice, when you're removing material from any article of clothing, always do it in very small increments, because once you cut it off, you really can't ever put it back. But I am pleased with the results that I got here. Now we're going to go ahead and darken up the jacket by using a can of flat black spray paint that I picked up at Lowe's for about $1. We really want this jacket to look extremely grimy and dirty, so the flat black spray paint is going to work out just fine. Now, I'm not too worried about spray painting the sleeves, because you're really not going to see them once they go inside the other jacket. Now, for the second jacket, I again picked this up at a yard sale for just under $2, and for $2 I really couldn't pass it up. Now, even though it doesn't have the quilted diamond pattern on the inside, I think for a budget Jason costume, it's going to work out just fine. And to be truthfully honest, having a quilted square pattern, no one's really going to notice anyways. Now, I'm going to go ahead and cut off the hood on this jacket and set it aside, and I'm going to use it later on in the costume. Now, I've already test fit this jacket on, so I have a pretty good idea of where I want to cut it. I am going to cut it just a little bit long, just in case my measurements are wrong. So I'm going to go ahead and proceed to cut just directly underneath the breast pockets. Okay, now for a quick test fit. It seems to be looking pretty good, but I am still willing to cut a little bit more off, depending on what it looks like with the other jacket. But for right now, I think it's going to work. Alright, now we're going to go and remove that shine that's on the jacket. Now again, using the flat black spray paint, I'm just going to go over the jacket itself. This is going to make it look a little bit dull, and even a bit more dirtier. Alright, now doing a test fit, I did realize the outer jacket was just a little bit too long, so I did go ahead and proceed to remove about another inch off of the jacket. And in my honest opinion, it actually fits and looks a little bit better. Now this next step is going to be optional. I decided to go ahead and remove the sleeves from the inner jacket. It just seemed a little bit too much, and it was quite uncomfortable wearing both jackets at the same time, so removing the sleeves on the inner jacket seemed like a pretty good idea to me. Alright, now to fasten both of these jackets together, I'm going to be using these paper fasteners that I picked up online that cost about 50 cents. Now these are actually quite simple to use. You just make a small hole in the jackets, insert the fastener, and go ahead and open it up. It's a very inexpensive way to keep these two jackets together. So now I'm just going to repeat this a few more times to make sure that these jackets aren't going to come apart. And just using a little bit of the flat black spray paint, I'm going to go and spray a little bit on the inside of the jacket where the fasteners protrude through, just to kind of mask their appearance. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and cause some damage to the outer jacket. Using the pair of scissors, I'm going to cut the sleeves, the collar, and even certain parts of the jacket. Then I'm going to use the wire brush again to fray everything out. Now again, just remember, when you're doing damage to any article of clothing, always do a small amount. Then you can look at it and decide if you want to do more or not. Because once you put the damage on there, it's on there forever. So just bear that in mind. Alright, now moving to the t-shirt. Now this is just a plain white tee that I turned inside out so you couldn't see the graphic on the other side. And it was just lying around my house, so I figured it was going to be perfect for this costume. Now I'm going to go and proceed to cut the elastic off of the collar, but I don't want to cut too much, just the elastic part. That's going to make the collar quite wide, and it's going to give you that look that you're looking for. Alright, now I'm ready to cause some damage to the shirt. Now this is actually pretty easy. All you gotta do is just look at a couple photos and you got a pretty good idea of where you need to put it. Once I have all the cuts, again going back to the wire brush, I'm gonna go ahead and fray out each individual cut. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and stain the shirt. Now all I'm going to use here is some decaffeinated coffee and water to make a solution that I can dip the shirt in. And if all you have is regular coffee, that'll work as well. The decaffeinated coffee was actually a donation from one of my good buddies, and I really don't think he's going to miss it. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and put the shirt into the coffee water solution, and I'm going to mix it up for about 3 to 5 minutes. Then I'm going to go ahead and let it sit for a couple of hours. Once that is done, I'm going to go and remove it from the coffee water solution, wring it out, and hang it up and allow it to air dry overnight. Alright, let's go ahead and move on to the pants. Now this is just a pair of brown pants that I picked up at a thrift store when they were having their 50% off sale. So I picked these up for about $1.50. Now I'm just going to use the flat black spray paint again to really darken these up. So if you haven't noticed by now, using the flat black spray paint seems to be a pretty common theme in this video. But to be truthfully honest, it's extremely cheap and very effective. So I think it's going to be a staple for most of my costume making. But word to the wise, always allow the spray paint to dry properly before you try on any article of clothing. Alright, let's go ahead and make the machete holster. Now the main part of the machete holster, it's actually known as a Western curb bit. I did pick this up at liexpress.com for just under $4, and being as I did order it from overseas, it took about 2 months for me to get it. But you can also buy these from Amazon or even eBay, and they usually cost around between $7 and $40. Now to make the two holster flaps, which holds the machete, I'm actually just going to use cardboard. I'm just going to trace out a simple pattern, cut it out, and then see how it looks. Now again, I'm going to go ahead and use the flat black spray paint to darken it up. Now on the machete holster, there's actually a small piece of cloth that's attached to the bottom loops. So grabbing a bunch of scraps from previous costumes, I'm going to sort through and see what I can come up with. It seems like this one's going to work out just fine. I'm just going to go ahead and attach it together using some hot glue. And then using a pair of scissors, I'm just going to go ahead and trim off the excess and then add a little bit of damage to it. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and add the two flaps that holds the machete. I'm just going to put these together, and with the ends I'm just going to put them through the loop and then a little bit of hot glue. Just go ahead and attach them. Now one of my most favorite things when I go to a yard sale is, there's always a box of free stuff. So I was actually able to pick up a whole slew of different types of belts for literally nothing. So here's just a few that I'm going to use for the costume. Now using some of my scrap cloth, I'm going to go ahead and cut it down, and using some hot glue, I'm going to put it on the back of the holster. This is going to give me a small loop which I can actually feed the belt through, which then in turn is going to attach to my leg. Now as far as the belt that actually goes to the loops on the top, and just using a regular marker, I'm going to make a few cut points and then attach it to the loops so it's a little more movie accurate. I'm going to do a little fine trimming to the belt that's wrapped around my leg just to make it look a little bit better. Alright, so the belt that actually goes around the waist, I'm going to go ahead and cut directly in the middle where I made my mark. Now I did make additional marks where the actual fold is going to be. I'm going to go ahead and proceed to fold this so one side meets the other, and then using a nail, I'm going to poke a hole directly through both sides of the belt. And then using a paper fastener again, I'm going to go ahead and attach them together. This actually looks pretty good and I'm very pleased on how it turned out. Alright, now moving on to the hood. Now this is just an old man latex mask that I picked up online last year for around $6. Now the hair that I'm actually using for this is actually from a doll that I picked up at the Goodwill for about 50 cents. I'm just going to use a little bit of hot glue and just attach some hair to the top of the head. Now as far as the latex mask, I did cut out the eye holes a little bit bigger because I had a really hard time actually seeing through it along with the hockey mask. So if you're wondering, if you purchase a mask online, it's not going to come with eye holes this big. Alright, let's go ahead and move to the hockey mask. Now this is just a cheap Chinese mask that I picked up online and I paid less than $1 for it. I'm going to go ahead and start off by removing the strap because we are going to use this later, and then using some sandpaper, I'm going to sand the entire mask. Now we're going to go ahead and paint the mask. I couldn't find any paint that was actually going to match the mask from the movie, so I'm going to use a little bit of khaki paint that I picked up a while ago. I'm just going to do a really light coat and let it dry. Alright, now using some brown paint, I'm just going to go over the whole mask, just kind of blotting it on there and rubbing it in, just to give that really old and worn look. Now I'm going to go ahead and mix a little bit of brown with some yellow paint, and then I'm going to repeat the same process. I'm just going to hit key locations just to kind of give it a stained look and to really make this mask look like it's been exposed to the elements. Now one of the benefits about using acrylic paint, that if it doesn't look the way you want it to, you can always use a little bit of warm water and most of it will actually come off. Now I had already added a little bit of black prematurely to the mask because I totally forgot I actually had to add chevrons. So I'm going to go ahead and add the chevrons right now. Now this particular chevron I did pick up from JDF Studios back in 2020 and I paid about $1 for them. I'm going to go ahead and put them on the mask, but I'm not going to press down too hard because if I don't have them lined up properly, I can always remove it and then realign it. Alright, I think that's going to work. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and add some damage and some scratches. So I had referenced tons of photos and even watched the movie several times, just so that I had a good understanding of where all the damage needed to go. But if you want a few more details, here's a reference video that I used to actually make this mask. I will put a link in the description below. I'm going to go ahead and proceed and add a little more diluted black to the mask. All I want to do now is just dirty it up a little bit more. Okay, so far it's actually looking really good. But one thing that I did notice from the movie, Jason's actual head is quite large. The mask has an appearance of being quite small on that ginormous head of his. So I gotta figure out a way on how to make the head a bit bigger. And I think I came up with a really good idea. I'm gonna go ahead and use sponges. Now I got these sponges at the dollar store and it's about the cheapest method I can think of. And using the hood from that jacket from earlier, I'm just gonna put them inside. And that's what I'm gonna use to put inside the latex mask for Jason's actual hood. I'm gonna go ahead and cut up the sponges and then do a little trim work. I'm going to go ahead and put them together using hot glue. And then continue to trim them down until they fit properly. So this is literally the first time I've actually even attempted this, and I'm not really 100% on how it's going to turn out. I'm just going to continue trimming down the sponges until it actually fits. Okay, it seems to fit pretty good, but I think I'm going to trim it out just a little bit more, just so that I don't have a tough time trying to put that latex hood on. Alright, now as far as the boots are concerned, these are actually my normal work boots. They were provided by my company, so I didn't have to pay anything for them at all. But again, footwear will be optional, just wear whatever you feel that is comfortable. Alright, let's go ahead and tally everything together and see how much it cost. And as you can plainly see, it's just under $25. And now it's time to put everything together and see what this actually looks like. Alright, I want to go ahead and thank everybody who stopped by and checked out the video. I'm really pleased on how the costume actually turned out, and I want to continue making costumes in the future. So if you guys have any suggestions for costumes you'd like me to make, let me know down below. Alright everybody, until next time, this is CS5 signing out, and I hope to see you in the next video.